Hi, my name is Jenica, and I'm here to talk about my birth story. I'm an IVF mom of one, and I'm 2.5 months postpartum. My baby is almost 11 weeks old. My wife and I tried for years to conceive. We had 4 failed IUIs and 1 failed IVF attempt here in Canada. And then for our second IVF attempt, because we knew that that was going to be the last one because it's expensive, we decided to go to Mexico. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know we chose InGenes in Tijuana, and we chose the program that includes 4 transfers and 4 egg retrievals. And we were lucky enough that we were successful on the very first try. I got pregnant from our first transfer. We had 2 embryos that weren't PGTA tested. And then I miscarried one at 5 weeks and 2 days, and the other one, who is now Cooper, stuck around. This isn't a pregnancy blog, but my pregnancy was very uneventful, uncomplicated, and I didn't have any I just didn't have anything crazy happen during my pregnancy. So I chose an elective C-section, and there were 2 reasons for that. One was because I was terrified of tearing. And the second was because almost about 90% of my mom's group, friends, family, whoever it was, started pushing for a vaginal delivery and then ended up going into an emergency C-section. So I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to have a traumatic birth, so I opted for an elective C-section, which at the end of the day, nothing about my birth was traumatic. So at my 38-week OB appointment, I asked my OB if I could collect colostrum and start doing things that might help with labor, like raspberry red leaf tea and prunes. And she was like, "Yep, go ahead. Nothing will induce you. You'll be fine. Whatever." So later that night, I went home and I tried to collect colostrum, and I got a tiny, little bit, little drops, not enough to collect. And then went to bed. The next morning, 5 a.m., I woke up with what I thought was me losing my mucus plug. So my wife wasn't home at the time. She actually had just left 3 days earlier to go do her 2-week rotation for work in Fort McMurray. So I was like, well, better go get checked out because pretty sure I'm going to have a baby. And I had pretty steady period cramps, but that was happening for weeks before this point. So I had the diaper bag and our bags packed, and a snack bag. So I put those in the car. I left the car seat behind, mainly because I couldn't carry it. It was just too heavy and I was kind of hurting. And I was like, somebody can bring it to us later. So I drove myself to the hospital. Get there and I get checked out and they were doing shift change. And I was just like, yeah, I'm having really bad, period style cramps. And I think my mucus plug broke. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture though of my underwear at the time. So they were kind of having a hard time, figuring out if it was my mucus plug. They did do an exam and I hadn't broken my amniotic sac yet. But they put me on the monitor where it checks your baby's heartbeat and everything was fine. And then so basically they said they were kind of hemming and hawing if they should send me home. And they said that I should stay there till 4 p.m. It was 6 a.m. by the time I got to the hospital, just for some monitoring. And then if all is good, then I can go home. So I asked if I should tell my wife to come, and they're like, no, not at that point. It's fine, whatever. So over the course of the day, I started to get in more and more pain. And for some reason, I was just super, super busy in L&D. So the doctor couldn't come back and see me. But around 4 o'clock, I was like, hey, these big period cramps are getting really close, 15 seconds apart, kind of close. And they're just painful. I have a really high threshold for pain. So I just kept calling them cramps. And actually they were contractions. So the doctor came back. She did a cervical check and I was 3 centimeters dilated and 90% effaced. So I was ready for labor. They gave me the option at the time to push or to continue with my C-section. So my elective C-section was considered an emergency C-section at this time, even though it's still a planned process. But that's just what it was labeled as. So they said, yep, call your wife. She should come now. So called her, packed her bags. It was about 5.5 hour drive. I'm pretty sure she made it in 4 by breaking a lot of laws. I was like, babe, don't stop. Like, you better have gas. I hope you don't have to pee. Just come. Okay, because I don't want you to miss this. So the doctor was like, yeah, it's fine. We can wait for her. I feel comfortable enough in where you are, labor wise, enough to wait. So I was hurting at this point, and a couple of moms like circled in at this time, and one mom was 40 weeks pregnant and not progressed, and she just wanted to give birth. She was so over it, and I felt so bad. And then they sent her home, and then I'm here at 38 weeks in 1 day, and I get to go ahead with the C-section. So my wife gets there, they have the scrubs ready, and they're like, put these on because we're going into surgery right now. So I was gowned up, she was gowned up. I went into the operating room, and oh, my baby is waking up on the monitor, so I might have to finish this later. Perks of being on baby duty. I went into the operating room, and the anesthesiologist met me there and did my epidural. That was too bad, except it was kind of like, it wasn't great. I mean, you kind of have to hunch your back and then they put it into your spine. And then it's like immediate. They're like, okay, you need to lay down now and lift your own legs up before you go completely like paralyzed from the waist down. And then my wife was brought in and the curtain went up, and they'd never really said like, hey, I'm starting now. It was just kind of like, hey, can you feel this? No. And then I didn't really know what else was happening. And then we just kind of sat there. It was pretty like uncomfortable seeing everything like shake, like the drape and like the poles that were like holding everything was like shaking. That's because they were like shaking me and tugging, which actually ended up giving me trapped gas in like my chest area later, like a day later. Yeah, and then about 10 minutes later, we heard the first cry, and it was wild because up until that moment, I was like, I just don't feel like anything's in there. I can see her on the ultrasound, I can feel her moving, but it's just crazy. Like there's a baby in there. And then so they brought her to like the little NICU tube area. They did a little bit of CPAP. She had a really good APGAR score, and then she cried, like let out a wham once more. And then they just brought her over to me, and she wasn't crying. She had these like beautiful eyes, and they placed her on my chest, and she had like this little toque on her head that did not fit. It was very cute, and she just kind of started like crawling towards my breast. And they said that's very normal, like they can smell it and see it, and they want to breastfeed right away. And so we tried, but it was kind of like awkward, and I was full of emotion. And yeah, we were able to take pictures and videos of all this. She did poop inside of me when they were pulling her out, like meconium, so they had to suction that out, and then they sewed me up. I also forgot to mention that the person who was doing my C-section wasn't my OB, who I really, really, really wanted to do my C-section, but at the end of the day, the doctor did a really good job, and apparently she did a really good job sewing me up as well. So we were wheeled off to recovery. I was very cold, but the lovely nurse helped me breastfeed, and she did the bear hug on me, I think it's called, where they like create like this like covered vacuum around you, so and just like put warm air. And that hormone drop started. That was the biggest like weight I've ever felt. In that moment, I was like, holy, I'm a mom. So I felt in that moment like I was disconnecting a little bit. I was trying to grasp like what just happened, and like our life changed. So after about, I think it was about half an hour, we were then wheeled postpartum into a shared room with another couple. The guy like snored very loudly, and for like 12 hours he did not help his partner at all. Like he just conked out. And then I just like looked down, and I was like, wow, my body was like ripped open. And it was hard, it was tough. trying to breastfeed, trying to talk to all these professionals that were coming in and out. We didn't have any visitors come. We wanted to keep Cooper as healthy as possible. So it was just my wife and I. My wife was amazing right off the bat, changing all the diapers, literally doing everything for me and for our baby. And it was wild, that pain, that first pain, standing up, not being able to sit down by yourself, not being able to lift up your own feet. Yeah, it was crazy. But that hormone drop was nothing like I've ever experienced. And we were able to go home within 2 days. So that we were really lucky. It was very hot. We just moved into a new home. We had no driveway. It was very muddy when we got home. But I think the biggest thing for me when I got home was that hormone drop. It was bad. Like, it was very, very hard. It was very depressing. I felt like I just wanted to curl up in my own bed and recover. And then they're like, here's a tiny little human. Take care of it consistently. Um, and don't sleep, and you probably won't be able to eat. And here's a baby that you need to figure out how to feed. And yeah, postpartum was crazy. I'm going to do another video on postpartum. But I am so, so lucky that my wife was here for me for that journey. I can't imagine going through something like this without her. Um, and overall, my birth was very calm, very happy with it. Obviously, it gave me my beautiful Cooper. I never knew I could love this much, and I never knew that something so big in my heart was missing until she came into our lives. She's like literally the light, the actual light of my life. So I love being a mom. It was very hard in the beginning, but we got through it. And that's pretty much my birth story. Like I said, I'm gonna do another video on postpartum. Hopefully, it'll help some new moms out there. And if you have any questions or comments, or you had a similar birth story, then I would love to hear it as well. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for listening.